As students are going into their second essay on the topic of advantages and disadvantages of siblings, I really want to take a sidestep for a moment and make sure that students have a full grasp of the synthesis chart so that they can make sure that they are effectively being able to use the resources that they have gathered on the topic, as well as the article that I've given students to be able to read, and be able to effectively use this, understand it, and plug this information in for supporting details for the essay assignment that you're given this week to pretty much fulfill in a rough draft. So first, let's talk about the purpose of the synthesis chart. The purpose of the synthesis chart is to be able to, for one, evaluate what our essay assignment is. The essay assignment that students have been given is to draw on the examples given in the readings. Students are writing an example in which they compare and contrast the advantages and disadvantages of having siblings is of course having brothers and sisters, and further students are to explain how those siblings shape a person's future. So given the essay assignment, my face-to-face classes, we really collaborated together, and I know that's kind of a missed opportunity online, but I wanted to share what our students had gathered together to see if this is something that could benefit you also. When we gathered together, we broke down the essay assignment to make sure we understood it and what were we being asked to do. Because if you don't address the essay assignment, you pretty much are missing and starting off on the wrong foot before you even got started. So the assignment really asked students to be able to, give the advantages of having siblings, give the disadvantages of having siblings, and then strictly focus on, how people are shaped in their future because of their siblings. And so about 2 weeks ago, students were asked to go find a research article that focused on the topic of advantages and disadvantages of having siblings. Students did that, they did these, they annotated, and they submitted that in. Last week, students had to read an article in the book on page 382. It was called Close Encounters of a Special Kind. And this article was a little bit harder to be able to read because, unfortunately, the writer, they did a good job of being able to present information, but the first half of the article actually looked at a theoretical perspective. Why researchers haven't given much thought on how our siblings influence us. Well, if you think about your essay assignment, does that really make any sense for something that you're going to write about? You should responsibly say no, because you're not being asked to write about theory. But the second part of that particular reading assignment for Close Encounters of a Special Kind, it really focused on like an example of a story. The lady's name was Janice, and if you go into that section in your book for Read, Write, Connect, it's the section in the article of Close Encounters of a Special Kind. It's called Intimate Bonds. And that section in that article really focused more on what we want to look at. It talked about an example, the lady named Janice. She was actually the third of 6 children. She had 2 older brothers, 1 younger sister, and then 2 younger brothers below that. And it talked about her relationship and how the relationship she had with her 2 older brothers, the one that she had with her sister, and then of course the young boys, as they called them in the text, I believe. The little boys, I believe, actually. The relationship she had with them, what was good. She didn't focus a whole bunch on what was bad, but she did say, well, these advantages I had with my siblings, they shaped my future. So that article is actually pretty important. I hope you didn't discount that article or not read it, because it's going to really contribute to your third body paragraph. Last, students were asked to find a third research article about their topic, which is, of course, advantages and disadvantages of siblings. So let me give you an example. Let me show you the synthesis chart that I went over with my students. Like, this is after, this is as far as you've gotten. They'd already done this and turned it in, and I had them go back and take a look at mine as a comparison for what they'd done. Are there things that they could put in to help them? And we made it a whole class discussion. So let me scroll down here so we can look at it together. Let's see. Okay, so you can see here, the first article I had, the title of the article was called Advantages and Disadvantages of Having Siblings, and I got it from an EDU website. from this particular article, here are my main ideas, because this is going to be my body 1 paragraph, because this is what I'm being asked to do in my essay assignment. This is my body 2 paragraph, is this whole column, everything all the way down, obviously below. And my 3rd body paragraph, because my essay assignment says what are the advantages, disadvantages, and how siblings shape a person's future. Okay, so my articles need to have something to be able to contribute to that, otherwise it's a waste of an article, I mean, just to be honest. So the articles that I read, the one that's stated here, the advantages and disadvantages of having siblings. This article, it had a lot of really good stuff on advantages. It says, the good thing about having siblings is that they're fun, they're great responsibility, you get to spend free time with them, play, dance, fool around, sing. If you need your siblings, they're there to be supportive, and if you need someone to talk to, they can help you with your problems. So that gave some really good information. Honestly, it's probably not anything I don't already know, but I need an expert to back up what I know, because much as I like to think that I know everything, I don't. And so that's why we seek experts to back up what we want to say. Also, the article gave me information about disadvantages. This is, when you have to look after your siblings, it can be exhausting. Jealousy can be an issue between siblings, especially if mom has her favorites, and, sharing of things, that can be a bit of jealousy. Specifically, I wanted to note that this particular article, when I come over here and I look at, what did this article say about how siblings shape a person's future, I'll be honest with you, that article didn't say anything about it. And that's not terribly uncommon. Not always are you going to find an article that addresses, what you've decided to be your 3 body paragraphs. If you do find something like that, you're probably really lucky, because very often you have to have several resources, which we've done, we have 3, that really are able to address the 3 body paragraphs. So I'm not dissatisfied. I think this particular article has done a good job of giving me at least good information here, and it's okay that it doesn't have anything. My next article hopefully can contribute to this particular body paragraph and the main idea, so it's not just lonely. So let me scroll down. Let's take a look at the close encounters of a special kind. Again, as noted earlier, it's kind of a difficult article. So keeping in mind that this column right here is the advantages, disadvantages, and this is the main idea, information body paragraph for how a person is shaped by their siblings. So this particular article, it really, remember I told you again that story of Janice. It talked about the relationship she had with her older brothers, that she had, that they had a protective air with her. And what I mean by that is that, if there was something going on, they would keep her out of trouble. They would protect her. And really, she goes on to talk about in the book, she says, through that protective air, what she had, it actually allowed her, when she went to date men later on in life and, look for a husband, it says specifically that the influence that her brothers had on her by protecting her, it really impacted what she wanted in life as far as a spouse. Like, she wanted a champion. It specifically says that I wanted a champion when I got married, and so her brothers were her champion, and so it shaped her. It shaped her thoughts of what she wanted in a significant other. Another point that is made in this particular article, something good, talks about it's an advantage of having siblings because they're models of successful marriages and families. And specifically, this particular advantage was talked about. Janice gave an example stating that she felt that she was shaped by looking at her older brothers and their marriages and with their wives, and was able to say, well, they are good role models for what she should expect of her own future relationships. And finally, down here, I didn't make a connection over here, but she felt that she was shaped in a sense of responsibility because, we know younger brothers and sisters were oftentimes asked to watch our younger brothers and sisters. And so with that being said, we're able to carry some type of responsibilities when parents leave. We have to take care of them and feed them and clothe them and things of that sort while they're gone. So Janice said in the story of Close Encounters of a Special Kind, She said that through these actions of helping her parents with her younger brothers, she developed a sense of responsibility for being able to care for them, which she was shaped by that for her future of how to be able to take care of her own family. I didn't really put anything as far as disadvantages in this column for this article. I didn't really think there was much in there for what I was trying to find. I wasn't too terribly concerned. I thought I did a great job. The article itself did a great job giving me good information here and giving me additional information for the advantages. My last research article that I found was sibling rivalry. I actually attached hyperlinks in them in case I wanted to reference them, because I had to if I'm going to quote them. So for the main idea of advantages for a body paragraph 1, it gave some information here. Disadvantages, it says, siblings, we get annoyed with them when we're compared to them. This article said nothing about how a person is shaped in their future. So honestly, I'm really having to rely on this particular article, The Close Encounters of a Special Kind. I have to rely on that article to be the bulk of my third body paragraph, because nothing else that I found really addressed it. But I think there's enough examples from the article that I think I'll be okay. At the very end, it says my personal examples to relate. I specifically here, I didn't use third person, I didn't use first person, even though these are my personal examples. I took everything from the very top for advantages all the way to the very bottom, and I kind of summed it up. I really thought that looking at all of these, between these two, I thought the advantages of having siblings, it really outweighs the disadvantages. And it seems to be able to promote a stronger sense of individuality of that one person, especially as they're shaped towards their future. Because obviously we'll grow up in a household. If you do grow up in a household with siblings, at some point you do move on your own. And so you have become defined by your siblings and how you've interacted with them and what you've developed from them. So this was just honestly my own thoughts. What was I getting? That information can actually be very, very, very useful when you write your conclusion paragraph. Because what are you trying to do in your conclusion paragraph? Aren't you trying to summarize the main ideas? Well, this particular example or idea that I have of my own and what I feel about the advantages, that's summarizing how I feel about it. I'm just not using the pronouns of I, me, or mine. So the purpose of this entire synthesis chart is for one, to kind of keep all of our resources together. How do they relate? How am I going to use this information for my body paragraphs? Alright, so this is a ton of information that I'll use for my body paragraph about advantages. This is my own information that I might not use for my conclusion paragraph. And the same goes for each column that's there. And I have 3 different resources. Many times when we have resources together, we could just get kind of crumbled up inside of them and get lost. So the synthesis chart, this is the second time we've done this. The synthesis chart is really meant for students to be able to take a look at this and be able to have this information and have it organized, because it's hard enough writing as it is. It's nevertheless even harder to take article information, apply it to your writing, and be able to maintain structure. So let's maintain our structure and organization. Move on to the next video very briefly. We'll just make sure that we students are able to stay focused on what they're asked to do. We'll do a chicken scratch outline and move forward from there.